Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading Shrimad Bhagavatam Canto 6, Chapter 1, the history of the life of Ajamila, text 16. Chandra prabhu, can you please read the Sanskrit version? Can you read word by word translation, please? So not, tat has so much. He suddenly, Akhavan, a man full of sinful activities, Rajan, O king, Puyeta, can become purified, Tapa Aribhi, by executing the principles of austerity, penance, brahmacarya, and other purifying processes. Yatha, as much as Kṛṣṇa Arpita Prana, the devotee whose life is fully Kṛṣṇa conscious, Tat Purusha Nishevaya, by engaging his life in the service of Krishna's representative. So now the translation of the text. My dear king, if a sinful person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord, and thus learns how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa, he can be completely purified. One cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, penance, brahmacarya, and the other methods of atonement I have previously described. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. So here in this text, such a revealing conversation is taking place, because there were a lot of penances offered, but now it is said that they do not actually help. Matter of fact, they help just on the surface, probably by following some culture, by some surface piousness, some beauty, some knowledge, but the root of this culture is still egoism, it's still there. Again, these anarthas are growing up, growing back up. So we're trying to build something good, some good intentions, but still, this weed is growing back up. So most of the people, they do not accept this way of life. So some not such direct instructions are given to people this time. For example, you can say hello, goodbye, thank you, but think and feel is a different thing. So just a secular culture. Secular word means that it allows this duality to the secular people. So it does not look into your soul, but you have to have these visual attributes, your clothing, the way you behave, your manners. So you have to wear a proper clothes, wear some attributes, just to present yourself as a well-mannered person. But behind the scenes, there's always some flirt, some strange relationships, not in marriage. So that's what this culture brings. It is different from the religious culture. This secular culture, it allows you to do something secretly, whatever it is you want. But no one is supposed to see that. So that's why for the secular culture, devotional service is not accepted. If a person chooses this secular culture, he's not ready to practice devotional service. He says, I'm a social person, so I'm not going to do that. So the point is that the person is supposed to achieve the source of this devotional service. So here in Bhagavatam, we're talking about the direct method of practicing it. So Jamila's life will be adjacent with it, the great sinner. So it says again in the translation that my dear king, if a sinful person engages in the service of a bona fide devotee of the Lord, and thus learns how to dedicate his life unto the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa, he can be completely purified. One cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, penance, brahmacarya, and the other methods of atonement I have previously described. So not the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Tat Purusha refers, so Tat Purusha means a spiritual master, refers to a preacher of Kṛṣṇa consciousness, such as the spiritual master. Srila Narottama Dasa Thakur has said, he said the following: without serving a bona fide spiritual master, an ideal Vaishnava, who can be delivered from the clutches of Maya? The idea is also expressed in many other places. Shrimad Bhagavatam, for example, 5.5.2 says, if one desires liberation from the clutches of Maya, one must associate with the pure devotee Mahatma. A Mahatma is one who engages 24 hours daily in the loving service of the Lord. As Kṛṣṇa says in Bhagavad Gita 9.13, O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Prabhupada has also said that these principles are used in other parts of the world. They are deluded, but they are great people, probably influential politicians, some tribes leaders. I know that in India even Lenin was called as Mahatma. So they've started using this terminology referring to great people. Maha-Atma. So Atma is not just a great person, it's a soul covered or protected, controlled by the spiritual energy. So it's not following, it's not trying to achieve any material purposes, material aims. So this is all still a material platform, although very elevated. So Mahatma is not supposed to be under the influence of material energies, but by the supreme spiritual energy. But the purposes are totally different. It's a different thing is said there. If you serve to the people, you will destroy everything. The society will just die out. If you water the leaves of the tree will dry out. But if you pour some water into the roots of the tree will be flourishing, will be blossoming. So the root of the creation, the source of the knowledge, of the living force, something that we cannot achieve in this world, but we are trying. There's a source that has all these benefits, but you have to pour some water onto the root. You have to dedicate your whole life to God. This is Mahatma, this is the great soul. In essence, he takes care of all the living entities, not only about people. If you talk about God, you have to dedicate your serving to all the living beings. Thus, the symptom of a Mahatma is that he has no engagement other than service to Krishna. One must render service to Vaishnava in order to get free from sinful reactions, revive one's original Krishna consciousness, and be trained in how to love Krishna. This is the result of Mahatma Seva. So these fruits a person gets when he serves to Mahatma. So you have to get rid of all the sins. You remember this conversation, right? So Parikshit, Maharaja Parikshit, is questioning Shukadeva Goswami, why do I have to go through all these purifying ceremonies if I have sinned already a lot? So then an elephant showering himself in water is given as an example, then it puts some dust back on its body. So if you continue committing sins, and then you take on this purifying ceremony in order to get free from all the sins. So you feel like your soul is heavy, so you go to church and you repent, you purify yourself. It's like a real penance. You feel better, yeah, that's right. You get purified a little bit, but then you leave the church, you start smoking a cigarette, buying some beer, and you start all over again. So that's why Maharaj Parikshit is questioning about if this purification is real. So what's the sense of showering your body, just like an elephant, for example, if you put this dust back on your body? So the point is that the real penance is that when you destroy the root of the sin, not just on the surface, not just this culture, but the roots of the sin. So you understand who you really are. You have to be truthful before yourself, first of all. The real motive is love to God. Love to a person is also a selfish thing, because that's the person you love, or love to your country is also selfish, because this is your country. This is false ego. It's very subtle, and it gives birth to new weeds. Altruists, there are such people. They can give their lives for the sake of others. They can save people, they can be very heroic. That's the most supreme activity in the material world. But still, you see, it's not pure, because you are attached to the glory. Because after that, the person enjoys this glory. Because it will grow up into some gross culture eventually. You see the way this world is functioning? Look at all these great people, but they're not Mahatmas, because they are under the control of the external energy. The most subtle element of this thing is the false ego. The only thing to get rid of it is to practice pure devotional service. That's when you will be considered freed from all these sins. So how can you get this elevated supreme motive that will push out all these sinful motives in my life? Only devotional service. You cannot take it from your mind and from your intelligence. We're very selfish. The heart, somewhere inside of me, very deep, this pure soul. So you have to awaken it. Only an awakened person can do that, free from all these layers of egoism. And in that case, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you can be the most sinful of all the sinners. You will get liberated very fast this way. But if we have said, this method does not suit the secular people because they're very selfish. They don't have this motive. The only motive that they have is me. And of course, if one engages in the surface of a pure devotee, the reactions of one's sinful life are vanquished automatically. So it's going to happen by itself. That's an amazing thing. We have committed so many sins in our lives, not only in this life, of course, a lot because we have lived many lives in this material world. And I think we're still not equal with all our lives. So for all the sins that you have committed in all your previous lives, just imagine the number of them. If you see this count, the number of sins, you will die immediately. How far we have stranded away from God. That's the result of our karma. So find these limits in yourself. We cannot even go beyond the limits of this planet. Even beyond the limits, the boundaries of our house, we're also attached. Someone cannot even stop smoking in this life. Not possible for him. You see, everybody is so tied up. But here it says that the devotional service, if we have a spiritual master serving to God, all these sins are not taken into account. So you are in these headquarters right now, being protected by this spiritual government. All the sins are cancelled because you're in a position of a spiritual servant of God. All the rest of the things are not considered. That's the only thing that we have to at least theoretically achieve. You have to keep in mind that I am the servant of God. I'm not here forever. I'm a temporary dweller of this plane. It says that the king, he can rebuke the criminal. Sometimes he said, kill this guy. So if you have committed a sin, there has to be a... You go to the hard labor in exile. You're going to get exiled. Or you get life in prison. So every 10 years, this person has got kind of an interview. If his consciousness changes, the psychologist find out that this guy has really changed. So he might have this amnesty, a deep penance. Person says, okay, I've realized that this was a bad sin, this was a bad thing to do, and now I want to just repent myself by doing something good for the society. And the psychologist might say, yeah, we can cancel out all your, sins, all your crimes. So, and this person may even become an attractant to other people. Other people will be asking him how he achieved such a position right now after being into prison for many years. Sometimes, yeah, such people say that I don't want to imitate God in this life anymore. I just want to serve to Him. So repent and do this thing. A lot of people say, you know how I turned out to be in Kṛṣṇa consciousness movement? I used to be a criminal. People say, like, oh, tell us about that. That's interesting. So I've repented, and all my sins got cancelled out. It's amazing how Kṛṣṇa can turn your miserable life into such a beauty. It starts with just thinking, and then when you start doing it, that's an amazing thing. Of course, secular people will not like it. They will tell, you used to be my friend, you respected me, you used to drink some alcohol with me, but now you don't respect me anymore, because you don't want to even eat with me. You're going to lose such friends very quickly. Well, there might be good people, but not Mahatmas. Because we want to talk to Mahatmas. And of course, if someone is not happy, anyways, they're going to get this benefit. So one of my friends, when he became a Kṛṣṇa conscious person, he started preaching. So devotional service is necessary not to drive away an insignificant stock of sins, but to awaken our dormant love for Kṛṣṇa. As fog is vanquished at the first glimpse of sunlight, one's sinful reactions are automatically vanquished as soon as one begins serving a pure devotee. To separate endeavor is required. The word Kṛṣṇa Arpita Prana refers to a devotee who dedicates his life to serving Kṛṣṇa, not to being saved from the path to hellish life. A devotee is Narayana Parayana or Vasudeva Parayana, which means that the path of Vasudeva, or the devotional path, is his life and soul. Narayana Para Sarvena Kṛṣṇa Bhikhyati. It's Bhagavad Gita 6.17.28. Such a devotee is not afraid of going anywhere. There's a path toward liberation in the higher planetary systems, and a path toward the hellish planets, but a Narayana Para devotee is unafraid wherever he is sent. They only want one thing, to remember Kṛṣṇa wherever he may be. Such a devotee is unconcerned with hell and heaven. He is simply attached to rendering service to Kṛṣṇa. So that means a condition of a state of samadhi. These are the great devotees. So there are some great devotees that have achieved this spiritual trance. Also the prophets. It's like they are dressed up in another layer. It doesn't matter for them if they're in hell or heaven. They don't care. It's not their concern. So in our life we see a lot of difficulties, miseries. In our personal life as well. There are also some difficulties, but we can be in a state of trance and pay no attention to that. This is called avesha. Or Shakti avesha. So the devotees still have this avesha. The ones who preach Kṛṣṇa's consciousness, they are protected by this trance. So they can go to any place. They're very harsh, they're very rude, envious. They don't pay attention. But the devotees, they don't pay attention to that. They don't even react to such things. They just keep talking about Kṛṣṇa. A usual person is not capable of that. If he's offended by some other people, he's going to have this negative reaction as well. Jesus Christ got crucified. So remember, he said that forget these people they do not know what they're doing. Nityananda was hit by a clay stone into his head. Nityananda said, he was laughing. You think just because you hit me with this stone, I will not give you this love for God? So this is a vesha. So devotee is given this state of vesha. Muhammad Prophet, people was afraid of him when he won all these battles. So they were afraid of what he was going to do with them. But he was a vesha. He has forbidden everybody. Some of his enemies, they were very afraid after being defeated. They thought that the Prophet would actually kill them all, put them all to death. But the friends of this Prophet told him that you just go to him and talk to him. He's very kind. He's a vesha. He's not. He's preaching the love of God. That's why he had to fight. But he's not into this mood. When a devotee is put to hellish conditions, he accepts them as Krishna's mercy. So what is he going to say? He will say, okay, I will get purified here faster. So Bhagavatam 10.14.8, he does not protest. Oh, I am such a great devotee of Krishna, why have I been put into this misery? Instead, he thinks, this is Krishna's mercy. Such an attitude is possible for a devotee who engages in the service of Krishna's representative. This is the secret of success. So a devotee never considers himself to be the direct servant of God. He always wants to serve the devotees of God. He always puts himself below the others. So there's the spirit of serving. The Lord always puts himself above the others, but the servant wants to serve the others. When Prabhupada came to America, to the Western world, he started saying there are people of first class, the second class, and the third class. And there are people, the fourth class, they're uncivilized at all. So Aryas are the first class. And he used to say that these people, someone didn't like this classification. They said that, we're all equal. There's the Western culture. And someone then asked, Prabhupada, what class are you? Prabhupada said, I'm the person of the fifth class. I serve all these classes. Because this is the supreme serving. Telling the truth is the supreme serving. This is not lording over the material nature. Servant of God is higher than the Lord in this respect. There's one Lord, but all the rest are the servants. The greatest servant of this God is Brahma, the creator of this universe. This is the power of serving, the power of service. You see how Krishna's consciousness is amazing. Anytime you become a Lord, you're going to face some problems. So this carousel, it never stops. The carousel of samsara, the wheel of samsara, from top to bottom, from bottom to the top, goes and goes on and goes on forever. The only thing you can stop this wheel is to become a devotee and render devotional service to God. So this was text number 16 from the 6th canto of Shrimad Bhagavatam, 1st chapter. So Jamila's life will be described here. Very interesting topic. So I'll put an end. I will stop here, and now I'm open to the discussions. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, the ones who are watching us in Zoom, please raise your hand and I will turn on the mic. The ones who are watching us on YouTube, send your questions. There's a link right under this video. Thank you, Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu. While I was listening to your lecture, I have recalled some details from yesterday's lecture, because in this purport, Srila Prabhupada gives us the definition of Mahatma, and he's reciting Bhagavad Gita when Kṛṣṇa tells us who the real Mahatma is. Yesterday we were reading the Transcendental Diary for Ishatma Prabhu. There was an episode there when Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, they were in a place, it starts with M. I forgot this place, the name of this place. Where is this place? The headquarters in India. And I cannot recall the name of it. So Srila Prabhupada used to give a preaching program there. He was accepted very well. A lot of people would come. And then Srila Prabhupada, following his daily schedule, he went for a walk. So while having a walk, he stopped at one house. There was an inscription in Bengali. Then he said, "You know who lived here?" He said that Vivekananda used to live here. Vivekananda Swami, that was very famous for his thoughts and ideas, and he's even gone to he even went to America presenting the philosophy of Vedas and Hinduism, and of course he was Mayavadi. And then during this walk, suddenly Chaitanya, he started saying that, he said that I met a cook. Vivekananda used to even talk to him. And then he said that he started describing his gastronomical taste. Judging by this word, the cook said that he was cooking for them all the kinds of dishes, meat dishes. Then Chaitanya said, I asked this cook, so Chaitanya is asking this cook, did you cook a two-legged being? And the cook said, if you asked me, I would do that. So he was very devoted to God, ready for anything. And there's a famous episode when Vivekananda was in America. So he was spreading his philosophy, Brahman, and then one person, while eating food, he said, according to your philosophy, everything is unified, everything is whole. So this person said, you said that everything is uniform, you mean That means that there's no difference between meat food and vegetarian food. Everything is Brahman. So Vivekananda, to prove practically the importance of his philosophy, he ate some meat. Srila Prabhupada, having heard that, he has commented it somehow. So Vivekananda should have said that so if it's just Brahman, there's no difference between food and feces. So Kṛṣṇa gives us this definition of Brahman here. Then another detail is very important in this purport. So Srila Prabhupada says, emphasizing the importance of service. So when you serve to God, you will get rid of all the sins and you will learn how to love Kṛṣṇa. And of course, you don't have to think of getting rid of all your previous sins. It's going to happen automatically. So how does this mystical process happen? What's the internal sense? Just by serving Vaishnavas or Mahatma, just to find a pure devotee to serve him. How does this mystical transformation take place? When a person receives this love for God and he gets liberated from all his previous sins, how does Kṛṣṇa take part in all these processes when we serve to Vaishnavas? Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit. So karmic mechanism works with help of all these attachments. So remember, there's an example of a trap for monkeys. When a monkey put its hands into this hole, and there's an orange in the end. So it grabs the orange, but it cannot retrieve its hand back. So that's how it's trapped there. The monkey is trapped. There's not enough of intelligence to let go of the orange. So this is a karmic mechanism. So we are attached to some material things, objects, especially to relatives, very strong attachments. And no matter what happens, we cannot let them go. Especially when we die, we hold on to all these attachments. We constantly feel either happiness or pain, happiness or pain. When we get some attachment, we feel happiness. When we get detached with it, misery, pain. So that's a karmic process. When we talk about serving to God, that's an attachment to God. So when we get detached with the matter, we let go of the orange. It's just the monkey didn't know that. It could have just let the orange go. Just like a monkey that was holding on to some food, and the ravens, the crows, were attacking. When you let go of the food, the crows follow the food. They stop attacking you. Another example, technical example, relationships. We say offend someone, the person memorizes it, and he's going to back at us this or next life. So one sinful action gives birth to other sinful actions. and it's not going to get unentangled so easy. The only thing to fight with it is forgiveness. That's what the great people do. They forgive all the offenders. Just like Jesus said, forgive and you will be forgiven. So everyone will need to be forgiven. Forgiven from all the sins that you had committed. And only the great soul can forgive. The most forgiven one is Kṛṣṇa. He is the forgiver. He forgives all the sins without any exceptions. If a person surrenders to him, that's how this mechanism works. If you really let it go, you get forgiven. And all this comes and you can learn just by serving to Mahatmas, Mahat Seva. Undoubtedly, a person might have some karmic fear. If I let go all my material attachments, how will I live without any attachments? Money, and then real estate. That's just the usual mentality. So you have to learn it step by step. Of course, if you give everything away, you'll become a homeless person, you'll die out in the streets. First you have to develop these relationships with God. You need to understand that there's a totally different mechanism of these relationships. Only after that you will be able to realize these subtle signs. So there was an example of an American. It was the beginning of the last century. So he got interested in this spiritual philosophy of India. Even back then, it was so strong that he decided to go to an Indian ashram of one personalist. This person would say such amazing things to this American, that everything is uniform, you have to get rid of all these attachments, liberate your soul. That was a good preaching, but it was an impersonal conception. So this American, he got under this impression. So he went to India, and he has actually donated all his money to the ashram of this teacher. And then, all the following years, he was actually feeling sorry for this action. So that's what happens when a person does not know how to use his energy. Not to get rid of it, but to get it engaged in serving to God. So it is said that everyone has something that he has to keep to himself. You need some knowledge. This is science, this is an art, skill. So now people ask, where is my share? What is it? Don't even know the answer. How much is it? Can you tell me? So renunciation without love to God is very dry. You go back to the same position. If you don't get attached to God, you'll go back to Maya. Second ready question. I'm sorry, it seems like my microphone was turned off. So I just wanted to touch upon this topic one more time. Something that has touched me just by serving Vaishnava, a great devotee of Kṛṣṇa. A person gets everything. So I just wanted to give some examples. So Jagannath Das Bhaji Maharaj, he was serving, his name was Mihari, so he was a great Vaishnava. He has lived for 148 years, if I'm not mistaken, and when he was unable to move by himself for long distances, so his servant Bihari, so he was a big and strong person, and he wasn't a literal person. So once they were traveling and they would stop at some place between Mayapur and Vrindavana, and Jagannath Das Babji Maharaj, he asked Bihari, his servant, to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. But Bihari, he smiled at him and said, Maharaj, you know that I cannot read or write. I cannot even tell one letter from another one. And then he said, well, just take it and try to read it. But this person was totally illiterate, so don't mock from me. Then this devotee said, just take it and read. So being a strong and big person, taking a look at this book, he has realized that he could read. So by the mercy of Guru, by the mercy of the great Vaishnava, this mystical process took place. What Srila Prabhupada is describing here is even a more mystical process. Just by serving a Vaishnava, you receive God of love, love of God, I'm sorry. So you have to take this service to Vaishnava not just to repent your sins, but to awaken the love for God. So these sins that just go away as a bonus. So you don't have this purpose of atonement, but just serving. You have a purpose of serving to God. So I just wanted to ask how it happened. A soul is capable of doing anything. A liberated soul can do what you want, write, read, more than you can imagine. Because it receives everything needed for the serving. The knowledge, the body, anything. It all comes from God. If the soul lives not only for itself, all the knowledge is given to it. A long time ago, I had an interesting experience. I've even had it before, but now it has come to me again. I was invited to honor some prasadam, but before this I had already had a little bit of food, like a snack, so I didn't feel like eating some more prasadam. I was invited there anyway, so I thought to myself, okay, probably it would be a good thing to taste some mahaprasadam from the deities. So the devotees that were sitting there, two of them, they were delivering prasadam. I was watching them, and then spontaneously, inside of me, I started having these feelings of gratitude to these two delivering prasadam, and I started thinking of them. What great devotees are they? So that's like a real devotional service, and it was so attractive. And I started kind of giving them my blessings inside of me. Then I thought to myself, like, hold on a second, what's going on here? I've recalled my own experience when I was serving to all the Vaishnavas, to my spiritual master. I think this is probably the same thing. I got these blessings from all the blessings from Seva. In other words, when we follow the instructions of our Guru, we serve all the Vaishnavas. So it turns out we get these blessings from them as well, from Kṛṣṇa by himself. So thanks to that, we receive everything. We satisfy Vaishnavas, and Kṛṣṇa immediately purifies us, gives his blessings to us. So I just wanted to discuss this mechanism. Otherwise, you serve to Vaishnavas and you get everything. Both liberation and love for God, and all your sins go away. So what's the mechanism? Because today you've mentioned a very important verse from Shrimad Bhagavatam. A devotee knows how to water the root. He does not water the leaves separately, but only the root of the tree. Hence, automatically, naturally, it brings favor to the leaves. So Vaishnava has this mystical ability to see the soul. He does not see our sins. So it's like as if when talking to Vaishnava, we get freed from our sins. So Vaishnava can see us through. That's a very simple mechanism from this point of view. You know, there was a time when we couldn't read as well. We knew some letters, but we didn't actually understand what we were reading. But then this understanding, it started coming to us while serving. That's the power of Vaishnavas, that's the spiritual vision. It's like as if someone awakens us. You know, our sinful life turns into a dream. It kind of gets separated from us. Yes, the sins did exist. If we have repented, the sin doesn't mean that there was no sin. It was there. We still have these samskaras. But in this case, even samskaras stop existing. It just turns into a dream. Like a dream that you've seen while sleeping. Because you are a soul. A soul always gets clear, always stays clear. Because that's a divine particle of God. But now it's here in this illusion, in this sins. You have to always remember that I am a soul, not this physical body. So just like you say, the Vaishnavas, they start thinking beneficial of each other, and it's just enough for Kṛṣṇa to reveal. When we treat each other accordingly, beneficial, that means that everything's fine. If our thoughts, words are not beneficial, this is a materialistic society. It's really hard to progress there. And again, from my observations, I have thoroughly connected my spiritual progress so just for me, these Vaishnavas that were watching me and giving me these blessings, and then I've come to realization that I'm just made from the blessings of these older Vaishnavas, just because I was trying to serve the older Vaishnavas. And then I've realized how much it is important to serve whenever I had an ability. And it doesn't matter, the age doesn't matter. So these blessings are like the water, thanks to which we grow. So this sincere serving just to satisfy God, and it's not impossible to satisfy Him by not serving Vaishnavas. Damodara Priya, please. You're welcome. Turn your mic on. So I'm sorry, I still confuse these buttons all the time. So thank you so much for this lecture. Thank you for emphasizing serving to devotees. And I wanted to say some words of gratitude to Kṛṣṇa Prabhu as well. When you saw this story of devotees serving to each other, then you said that it's very important to do it selflessly, selfishlessly. And when I started also serving to the devotees, I started understanding that my relationship, the way I received, I understood it all, it started changing. So when you serve to Kṛṣṇa, it's not like I push myself artificially, that I have to forget about it. It's a set of mind. So I try to meditate on that. Then I serve to devotees, I try to remember that. So even when I watered the cucumbers, in our garden, I look at them as two living entities as well. And just like our Bhajana Prabhu said that we are made from the blessings of all the devotees. So I've had only 2 chances in my life to serve all the devotees, to make them happy. There was one time, so I've really wanted to increase the number of rounds that I chant for a long time. And there was a devotee that came to a place, and I've managed to serve him. And then I just woke up the next morning and I started chanting more rounds. I didn't do anything for that, it just happened by itself. I was really impressed by that. So Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu, you said that a devotee thinks of other devotees in a good way. And when a devotee thinks and talks good things about some other devotees, then this is very beneficial. Sometimes another person objectively behaves not really in a positive way, he offends other devotees. You look at all these things and it's hard for you to believe that this person might become a pure devotee, especially when you see this experience of him being not a positive person. And I just wanted to ask you to share with us your experience, this change of paradigm, by seeing this person committing all these anarthas, and then when he transforms and you see this transfer. Yeah, that's a good question. Those who behave offensively, relating to other people, you don't have to associate with them too closely. You have to keep the distance, be neutral, and so being a little bit on this distance, you can see the soul. They are unhappy because they're forced to criticize. They cannot take the pressure of the mind, all these qualities, arrogance, false ego. Only at a distance can you see that, the struggle of soul. So if you start being in contact with all these qualities, you will get offended as well. So it's not recommended. It's not recommended to associate with such people too closely. So gradually and eventually they will get purified. If they go along this way, they will survive. So they start understanding their mistakes, they even suffer, and when we support them, they will transform into this Vaishnava's culture of serving. So you can elevate this level eventually.
Могу, да, зачитать? Произошло?
Да, пожалуйста.
Ага. Первый вопрос. Динара Матаджи задает, если будет возможность, как увидеть или почувствовать, что Кришна любит меня, как это проявляется?
So the question is, how can I feel that Krishna feels me? How does it manifest? I'll take a flower, some fruit, some water, and offer it to Krishna with love. You will feel it, undoubtedly. Just try it. Try it in practice. Take a fruit with your own hand, wash it, put it on either an altar, put it on a golden plate or bowl. So if you don't have gold at home, you can do it on a silver plate and put some diamonds in it. If you don't have diamonds at home, in your poor life, so just on the porcelain plate or bowl, but not broken, you can put just fruits. Just put these fruits on the altar. So pujaris, they do know how to do it. But the important thing is that you do it from your heart. So Prabhupada said, if a spiritual master visits your place, you order the best car for him. But if God visits you, what car will you order for him? Made of gold or metal? Of course, better of gold. So try to offer Krishna something that you like yourself, something that you would never give to someone else. Something that you're attached to very much. Even your relatives. But don't just put them on the altar. Just do it in your mind. But even when you get your salary, take all your salary and put it on the altar. Thinking of Krishna, that you're doing it solely for him. So do it with the deep feelings. You can grow a tomato, but especially for Krishna. Just look as it grows, water it, and then you offer it to Krishna. This is your love. Vegetables grown in your own garden and present it to someone. This is love. If you give your own fruits that you have grown to someone else, this is love. Such a simple thing. You have to feel it. Of course you will if you do that. Or you can say, you can think of how amazing Krishna is. Think of his pastimes, the way he killed Putana, the way he liberated her, the way he associates with his relatives, with his devotees, with his word. Just a glimpse. Just talk about him. Think of him. And you will feel it, why not? You will certainly feel it. If you do it from the heart of hearts, you will feel something. So now we're talking about personal relationship. So it's the nature, water.
Для кого-то очевидно, для кого-то еще может не очевидно, поэтому. Да, все тоже это милость Кришны вокруг, понятно.
Well, this is all mercy of Krishna around us, but you have to realize it when you see Krishna everywhere, in everything.
Где вы видите Кришну? Должны сказать.
It's not the question is about where do you see Krishna, right?
Если вы нигде не видите Кришну, только в божествах.
If you don't see Krishna anywhere,
Вайшнавах, когда Вайшнавы,
in deities or Vaishnavas,
значит, служите Вайшнавам, служите божествам.
serve to Vaishnavas or to deities. In this way you will feel love. Just like Guru Chandrika said, then you will keep on seeing Krishna everywhere and in everything. But you have to have some experience for that. In Bhagavad Gita says that you can see Krishna everywhere and all these different amazing manifestations. In the 7th and the 10th chapters of Bhagavad Gita, and there are some manifestations as the fire of digestion, for example. Things surrounding us. Krishna says that this is me. These are my manifestations. But it's important for you to do the spiritual action. Offer something to Krishna. A leaf, a fruit, some water, that would be enough. Everything you like in your life, offer it to Krishna.
Если позволите, Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu, философское небольшое дополнение. Потому что только что сказали, что говорится в Бхагавад-гите 7 главе, 10, 15 главе. А вот говорится, что мы можем просуществовать без пищи, где-то 40 дней. А без воды...
So it says that we can live for about 40 days without food, without water for like 6 or 7, without oxygen for 5 to 6 minutes. But without love, we cannot even live for a second. This means that Krishna loves us. It still supports us, it continues supporting us. It becomes everything for us. The sun, the moon, thanks to which everything grows up and this existence is supported. He also digests this food. Just like a mother seeing her little baby without even a milk tooth. This mother chews on a cookie, then it gives this pulp to her child, to her baby. So we cannot live without love for even a second. This is a philosophical hint to the way we can feel Krishna's love to us. So in connection with this question, I would add something. So there's a question in the chat. So Damodara Priya? So when Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu said that wherever we see Krishna, so I have this practical question. We're going to meet with the devotees today to chant some japa. But usually these are people that don't have this experience of chanting japa for a long time. So we'll try to do it for an hour today, but I really doubt it's going to work out. So one Mataji said that even five beads, not even rounds, 5 beads are different for me to chant. And after today's discussion, I have some doubts that maybe we have to change the program and to do more Katha, for example, that the devotees don't feel this pressure. How do I understand during the program that we need to change something so that the devotees have this good samskara? I'm sorry if it's not relating to the topic.
Я не все расслышал из-за неустойчивого интернета.
So it seems like I haven't heard everything
Как сформулировать вопрос коротко?
due to the problems with my connection. Can someone
Да, может, ты будешь
rephrase this question to me?
Может нам стоить программой, вот Дамадаре Прия Матаджи сказала, что они планируют повторять
So Damodara Priya Maharaji says that they're planning to chant the Mahamantra today with some new devotees. Mataji said that when she tries to chant mantra alone, she cannot even chant for 5 beads, not even rounds. It's difficult for her, challenging for her to do that. So it's difficult for her to repeat holy names. The question is, maybe we should change our programs in some way, to have more of katha, probably some more of emotional things when talking about Krishna. I don't think that we have to change the program. The program stays the same. Let the devotees learn how to do it. Let them do the way they can. And of course, there have to be some emotional programs, like theatrical plays, some creative evenings. It's also a necessary thing. It helps us concentrate on the holy name. Spectacles about Krishna. Yeah, we have such requests, by the way. So Radha Kṛṣṇa Maharaji, turn your mic on. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu. So in the 31st chapter of the 3rd canto of Shrimad Bhagavatam, so soul being in the womb of mother, a soul understands, realizes itself. It realizes that there's a God that is near, that gives everything. It understands the position of God, knows the difference between soul and super soul. And all this is happening in the womb of mother. But then, when it's born, everything gets forgotten. On the one hand, it is understandable. Then, being in the womb, you cannot change anything. This living entity realizes that he's a soul and who the God is. And now being born into this material world, the soul becomes very conditioned and forgets about God. On the one hand, I do understand what's going on, but then I don't quite understand why we all forget this. Why does this mechanism activate? Why does the soul forget everything, forgets this knowledge? Just like you said today, the soul has this, you just have to awaken it. Just like Srila Prabhupada says, there's a potency of every conditioned soul, that I am a soul. But still this mechanism, what does this mechanism activate? This mechanism of forgetting things. So we even forget our spiritual master, and here we have to learn how to do it together. How do we remember these things being in the womb of mother? But then when we are born, we forget everything.
Нет, нет, не обязательно так. Там говорится, если душа благочестива, она может вспомнить
It
свои
is,
там прошлые жизни.
it is
Если
said that
благочестива душа,
if this soul is pious,
обычно душа ничего
it can recall all its previous lives.
не
But
думает, что
usually,
матери в полном
an
сознании
ordinary
что только джапы не хватает. Нет, нет, нет.
soul cannot remember anything. Don't think that if you are in the womb of a mother, you're very pious and
Те месяцы, когда пробуждается
you only have to chant
сознание,
Maha Mantra.
обнаружит себя в горячей, такой, в горячем мешке. Там же огонь пищеварения матери.
So this
Прямо непосредственно, да, в плотном
soul
утробе,
finds itself in the womb of mother like a hot sack.
питается настроением и
So it cannot eat. It
матери.
feeds on the
Она лежит на животе, у нее
emotions
проблемы.
instead of mind of mother. When a mother lies on the stomach, this
Чувствительный. Вот, но испражняться
small
может.
organism has some problems.
Вот. Питание-то
But
получает от
this
матери, не ест, там пищу ему не подают.
fetus,
А испражнение выдает, это токсины.
it actually even produces some
Токсина.
feces,
И у матери
these
проблемы,
toxins.
у него проблемы, вот там
So
всякие
these toxins, and also the mother has some problems.
червячки, вот, и кусают его тельце нежное. Вот, представьте себя в
And
этом
also some
положении.
insects have there, biting your small
Выдержать, да?
body.
Конечно, вы к Богу
So
обращаетесь.
just imagine these
Ясное
conditions,
дело, что он будет.
how this little toddler lives there.
Он еще
That's
ничего
why
не
he
видел,
goes up to God. He hasn't
ничего
seen
не
anything
слышал.
yet, hasn't
У него нет
heard
никаких
anything yet.
привязанностей в этом состоянии.
No
Он в
attachments
полном отречении,
in this state,
в полном
full
осознании
renunciation,
материальных страданий. Всё как по Шримад Бхагаватам, да? Дьяна
Full
Вараги у него есть.
consciousness
Вот.
of all the
Привязанности
sufferings.
нет. Он там просто, ну,
So there are
саньяси.
no attachments, just like a real
Вот когда он
sannyasi.
рождается, он увидит
But when
мать,
this soul is
увидит её
born,
нежные руки,
he will get to
грудь, там,
see
молоко,
his
и
mother
всё.
and
В
breast and
этом
milk.
мгновении он уже обусловлен.
So in this very moment, this soul becomes conditioned. But in the womb, he doesn't even know that he's in the womb. He has no idea, no concept of it. It's just he has these relationships with God. He does understand that I'm suffering, I'm suffering. And if this soul is pious, he recalls that he has already had a lot of these material births. Now we are all under the influence of our sensual activities. We don't even remember being in our mother's womb. So thanks to these objects of senses, we forget who we are. We don't even think about death. This is illusion, a very powerful illusion, Mahamaya. And there, being in the womb of your mother, it's not that. That's why Shukadeva Goswami, he didn't want to go out. He was in his mother's womb for 16 years. He's been there for 16 years. So if you accept the existence of soul, don't even worry about that. The soul has this consciousness, not the body. So don't get amused. Another silly question. So Shukadeva has been into his mother's womb for 16 years. How did he tolerate all these things, not pleasant things, these conditions of living in his mother's womb for 16 years? Well, probably he made a deal with them. Probably even of these insects and worms. They were in ecstasy as well, because his mother was eating prasadam. An embryo, being in a mother's womb, he feeds on thanks to his mother, then he releases some feces in form of toxins Shukadeva Goswami, he's been there for 16 years. He was a liberated person. And the symptoms are being free from thirst and hunger. That's why he didn't actually poison his mother with all these toxins. So another question, Ram Prabhu.
Сами зачитайте Кармата Прабhu, да?
Давай, сейчас, чат. Вот Джакит спрашивает, как может служить вайшнавам человек, который живет в местности, где нет храма, вайшнава?
How can a person living in a place with no temples, Vaishnavas or devotees serve to other devotees? Read Prabhupada's books, chant Hare Krishna mantra. He can have some contact with these people, and in your mind think about devotees. So with the help of this memory, he's gonna serve them too. But if he do not associate with any devotees, it will be difficult for him to move on. But he might just think about the holy names of God and Vaishnavas and other devotees. Then when the favorable time comes, Krishna will give him an opportunity to grow.
Прабhu спрашивает, зритель,
Someone Prabhu is asking,
если приходится тяжело работать в пандовой кадыши, можно ли так строго соблюдать пост? Скажем, только на
so if it's hard during Pandava Ekadashi to work, should I be so strict with this fasting? Using just fruits and milk, for example? You see, I don't see any problems. So Karbajana, what do you think? There are also some exclusions from rules. Sick people, some problems with the stomach, for example, can be different reasons. So they can drink water, eat fruits, avoid grains. If someone works, having some hard labor, of course he needs some food, of course. Guru Chandrika wants to ask a question. If there's no one to associate with, but there's a holy name in books, the holy name is also considered to be an association. So why do we still need association with devotees, society of devotees? Why do we still need it? Why do we need this communication? Service, we need to serve to Vaishnavas. This is the main basic principle of Bhakti Yoga. It takes the first place. You have to serve to Vaishnavas. Second place is taken by Ekadashi. We have family, we have deities, books, holy name, relatives that you can serve to. Why do we need the association of devotees? You don't just serve to your relatives, you serve to Vaishnavas. If your relatives are Vaishnavas, that's better. It's not about either you need it or not. So at least you serve your relatives, and it's a natural thing. So what if there's no association with devotees, and I only restrict myself with deities, for example? So this is called a devoted individualist. So in order to get rid of all this individualism, I have to associate with devotees.
по очереди. Пожалуйста, включайте микрофон.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Hare Krishna, Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu. Thank you very much for an interesting lecture, for the answers. So Dhruva Maharaj, for example, when he went to a forest being a child, there was a spiritual master there. He had some material desires, but by communicating with the spiritual master, he has realized everything and he has come to realization. He has understood his mistake, and then he felt pity for that he had asked something wrong from God. When there's a person chanting mantra, cooking prasadam, listening to some lectures, but he's not achieving to associate with devotees, but at the same time, he really believes in the power of holy name, can he progress spiritually? Yes, he can. But when he runs out of all his abilities, he will be seeking for the association with the devotees. So there's like a proverb, if you have too much fun, you will run out of all this energy. You will feel that it's not enough for you. That on an individual level is not possible. You will seek for the association of devotees. What's the difference then from being an individualist? You have to seek for God. So remember, we once talked about it. So I said that Olga has been chanting Mahamantra for 3 years already. And when I have some possibility, I chant even more. You said when you don't have any service, you have to chant 64 rounds a day to have your japa on a good level. Said some remodeling in my apartment. I was so much afraid that I didn't have any ability to chant it. So by any chance I was chanting more and more, not to be covered by Maya. You're like Mahatma. Thanks to you. Thank you so much.
Харе Кришна, примите мои поклоны. Просто сегодня заговорили о Пандаве и Кадыши.
So Rajamani Prabhu, yeah, thank you so much. Today we've talked about Pandala, Ekadashi. It's about 8 years ago. I've come across a letter that Srila Prabhupada was observing Pandava Ekadashi just like ordinary Ekadashi. And the confirmation of that, a year or two after that, devotees that would travel with Govinda Maharaj on the European tour, there were a lot of Prabhupada's disciples. They said they were following Pandava Ekadashi just like an ordinary Ekadashi. So our devotees from Kazakhstan, they were in shock first. They probably didn't know about this article. So they said that, wow, we were a little bit surprised. Then Govinda Maharaj said, eat sabji. This is just like an ordinary Ekadashi. So 2 examples of the way Srila Prabhupada was following Pandava Ekadashi and his disciples. Do the same thing. Because today is Pandava Ekadashi. Yeah, just because we cannot fast accordingly, it's better for us to eat prasadam. For most of us. For many of us. There's a book about Ekadashis. It is described there the way to fast, that you properly fast. So I've recently read
учеником как раз про Экадыши.
from my conversations with Prabhupada with his disciples.
Других Экадыши. И Шрила Прабхупада говорит, если вы хотите извлечь максимум
So Prabhupada says if you want to get maximum of benefit, get all the blessings from Kṛṣṇa by following Ekadashi, and this part of Ekadashi. So you have to fast fully, like dry fasting without even water, and to be awakened during the night. Then Prabhupada said, if not everybody can do that, there are some other options. He emphasizes there are some rules of following Ekadashis, but he didn't emphasize that.
Помнишь, Карабаджан прабhu? Это же история касается Бхимы. Он сказал одному мудрецу,
Remember about Bhima, he said to one sage that he's not able to fast during Ekadashi because the fire of digestion, it was just burning him from inside. He was the son of God of Wind, so it was just burning him. It was burning him from inside. So he could eat a lot of food, a huge amount of food every day. So he was the son of the God of Wind. Bhima said that it's not possible for me. So then this sage, he's blessed him for Pandava Ekadashi. So one day a year, try to fast for just one day a year. And this day can be in exchange for all the other Ekadashis for you. And then when devotees, they learned this, if you have failed to follow all the rest of Ekadashis, there's one Ekadashi that can neutralize all the mistakes that you had made before. So in this sense, they were trying to fast fully, without even water. So they were trying to do it according to the book. That's a challenging task. That's just the mentality of all the devotees. Why they emphasize only this Ekadashi. But yes, it just can be an ordinary Ekadashi. You can do it fully, not fully. You can eat some fruits and veggies and milk. Sometimes it is useful to just drink water. The point of Ekadashi is not about fasting. It's about spending your time correctly. It is saturated with bad karma in grains. But we make it beneficial because we fast. Krishna Katha chanting holy names is very intensive. So we have to spend this day in ecstasy. That's how it can become favorable. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that
Да, пожалуйста, Матаджи Гаурачандра, только громче, вас...
Чандра хочет тебя спросить, Карабаджан.
So Gaurachandra wants to ask you something. I don't want to... I want to ask you a question of how you understood that individualism is the separation from God. How can you understand it? If a devotee worships deities, following all the instructions, but he's got no association with devotees, why we call it individualism or separation from God? How did you understand it?
Здесь...
Карабаджан прабhu, отвечай на вопрос.
Да.
Kṛṣṇa will answer the question.
Ты будешь что
Now you pay for that.
Подчиняясь вашему приказу, попытаюсь ответить. Здесь...
So I'm trying to obey your order and I will try to answer this question. So someone chanting holy names and having puja, so he can be an elevated Vaishnava. He might be not an individualist. And the same devotee worshipping deities, offering prasadam, he can't be an individualist. So this is the matter of a question of consciousness.
Что?
Интернета нет.
There's no internet connection?
У вас слабый
В
интернет.
это время начинает уже нет.
Ага. Не знаю. Не повторить?
Should I repeat what I've just said?
Слышали, у нас интернет слабый.
So we didn't hear anything.
Вот
Okay, I'll say it again.
возьмем то, что вы сказали. Человек поклоняется божествам. У него есть божества, тулы.
So a devotee
Вот, он
worships
поклоняется
deities, he's got
божествам.
tulasi, and he offers prasadam, he
Он может быть
conducts pujas.
он может быть
He may not be an individualist, but a pure devotee. But at the same time,
самое делает. Он может
another devotee does the same thing. He can be an individualist.
внешние вот формы.
It's a matter of consciousness.
Поэтому Шримад Бхагаватам в 11 песне
That's why Shrimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto,
рассказывает,
one of the Yugendaras,
тот, кто поклоняется
he tells the symptoms of one who worshiping the deities, but at the same time not able to
соответственно,
see God in the heart of all the living entities.
совершать насилие или не уважают, или не способен строить уважительные
He's not capable of building good relationships. Such person,
еще суровые слова. Этот человек подобно тому, кто совершает
so this person is like the one that commits yagya. He's got everything, the woods, everything, but there's no fire. There's no Kṛṣṇa in there. Kṛṣṇa does not accept this offering. You take ghee, but you pour some ash. Even though he worships deities, he neglects other living entities. He commits psychological or gross violence, so he's an individualist. He does not see the connection of all the living entities with God. So it's a matter of consciousness. So how can he be an individualist if he worships the deities? You have to know his consciousness, his values. Only then we can say if he's an individualist or a pure devotee.
Он не видит других живых существ
So he does not see other living
как представители
entities
Бога,
as the representatives of God. That's why he does not appreciate this association. So he locks himself up into himself. It's just this psychological phenomenon that has been always interesting for me. People, there are some kind of close people, introverts, they're like they live in their own world. It's like they don't develop the way as if they would communicate with the others. The society is moving on, but you live in your own cocoon. There's a phenomenon that I've seen. The danger of individualism. It's just this question is really interesting for me. I think it's important to discuss it, to consider it. It's very important to have these kirtans and reading Bhagavatam all together. It's very precious. Very strong development takes place. Because I listen to some lectures online, it's like I am the main person there. But there, this telephone just sits on my table. But here, when I am surrounded by other people, I feel in the society. And I'm not the main here, not with any earphones or videos. This personal communication is really important. Personal communication is important. Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is a great gift of Srila Prabhupada. In 3 or 4 places, he keeps repeating these main thoughts. I've created this society for one purpose, so the people have a possibility to communicate with each other. Serving to Vaishnavas is the cornerstone of bhakti, thanks to which we receive everything. Thank you. So thank you, dear devotees. I think at this time Irene and Ness is stable, so we have to finish.
Его милость Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu ki jai. Его милость Gaura Chandrika Mataji ki jai. Gaur Vimanande Hari Hari. Спасибо, дорогие преданные.
Thank you, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. May everyone have a wonderful